dreams and he who looks inside awakes. This was said by the famous psychologist Carl Gustav Jung. He was supposed to be the one who was going to take carry the light after Freud, but he didn't. They went different ways, and this was one of the reasons because of his spiritual leanings. Jung was interested in what we now call, and what he called the famous collective unconscious, and the Eastern traditions that had to do with awakening. And I think those words, he who looks outside awakes, and he who looks no, he who looks outside dreams, and he who looks inside awakes, are great because they are so succinct. What is the word? And concise and easy to follow, even though I managed to screw it up. But anyway, he who looks outside, what that means, if we take someone like Ramana Maharishi, for example, Ramana Maharishi, the famous Indian sage, he also said that as soon rather, we go into second person or third person, we lose we lose track of ourselves, basically. So we have first person, which is I, second person you, third person he, him, it's. And when we go outside in our consciousness, sort of, we lose the sense of self. We lose what is supposed to be what we explore with meditation. So, almost every meditation is focused on the I. Nisargadatta Maharaj, and another famous Indian sage, his only meditation basically that he got from his teacher and what he taught was to just basically say, I am. So he did what Ramana also, they were contemporary, taught, and what Jung also says. He didn't go outside. He didn't think about other people, he didn't think about things or anything. He just went inside or stayed with the I. I mean, ultimately, of course, there's no inside and outside, but that is the realization from staying with the I. But when you go outside, there's the appearance of outside and you get caught up in it. Just like in a dream, you get caught up by the things happening in the dream. You speak to people, you watch things, you see a monster, you get scared, and you don't realize that it's a dream. So in that dream, you could meet, if you would meet Jung in the dream, he would tell you, if you look outside, you will just be dreaming, and you're not even realizing you're dreaming because you think you don't know it's a dream even, but you think he speaks about it metaphorically. And if you look inside, he will tell you, you will awake, and you meet Nisargadatta Maharaj in the dream, and he says the same thing. He says basically the same thing. Stay with the I. Do the meditation, I am. Just stay with the I. Stay with the I am. And maybe you meet Ramana Maharishi too, let's say. It's a great dream. And he will also say, inquire. That is his teaching, which is pretty similar to much of Zen tradition, Zen Buddhism, that focuses on what is called koans, or questions. And one of those questions tend to be, who am I, or what is this? Those kinds of inquiries. And it's the same thing. Who am I, or what am I? It goes back to here, right? And back to back to this right now. All the traditions, all the meditations are focused on this very moment, this awakening, this consciousness, this very experience that you are having right now. Even though, of course, there are phenomena in your experience, you see things, you think about people, and even people who aren't here, but you can see things that are sounds, tastes, or all your sense organs are working for you. Yet when we are focused on them, and we are going outside again, we are losing ourselves. We're losing we won't realize that it's a dream, like Jung is saying. We will be just dreaming. Okay, which is fine if you want to do that. That's up to you. But yeah, so in the dream, let's say we're in the metaphorical dream, or we're in a real dream, and Jung tells us that if we look outside, we will dream, and we should look inside instead. We should basically go inside and do some of these meditations, even other meditations like noting or body scanning or mantra meditations. All those also bring us back to here, to right now, to this moment, to this experience, to this whatnot. This everything is always happening here, of course. Even if you're thinking about something, it is not anywhere else. It's just that we tend not to recognize that or realize that. We tend not to awake to that reality, or what the traditions throughout the centuries and thousands of years basically have been teaching us, telling us that, yeah, if you look inside, you will realize something. And let's say that we in a dream do as Freud, or sorry, not as Freud, as Jung said. We look inside instead. We do the who am I, or we do Nisargadatta Maharaj, I am, and we stay with that. If we do that, like they said, over time, we will start to see through the illusion, the Maya, the matrix, the whatnot, and we will realize that it's a dream. This isn't, I like the metaphor or analogy with a dream, because if we do that in a dream, or if we learn that it is a dream, if we focus on it, we can even do tests to realize that it's a dream, lucid dreaming tests, like try to fly, or look at your hands and look away and see, look at the time and look away and look at the time again, and you see that the time's changed. And we become lucid. We awake within the dream. We become awake within the dream, and things shift for us. It becomes very different. And it changes to the degree that we become awake within that dream. So if we just barely know that it's a dream, maybe you've had this experience yourself. If we just barely noticing it, then it's still kind of murky, still kind of in your semi-conscious, shall we say. And it's a continuum. Whereas on the further side of that continuum, you would be fully awake in that dream and be able to do whatever you want, basically. This is, what Stephen LaBerge and other people doing dream yoga, or lucid dreaming, is doing. And then there are people within the Tibetan Bon tradition, for example, that do what I said before, dream yoga. And that is a version, that's in dream yoga, Tibetan dream yoga, that is basically the first step to become aware that you are dreaming, and then start doing practices. So even within the dream, I've done this myself a couple of times at least, where I've tried to become lucid, and I become lucid, and then within the dream I do my practices, I do my meditations. I was just thinking to myself that this is a great way of saving time, basically, because I had a lot to do during the days with children and work and all those things. So if I could use my nighttime as practice, that would be great. And according to some of the traditions, when we do the practices in the nighttime, or not in the night time, but rather in our dreams, they become more potent or more powerful. I don't know if that's true, or that's just a way of selling it from the Tibetan Bon tradition. But according to some experts, it is like that. And for me, definitely doing meditations, doing who am I, or doing whatever it was really powerful for me. It's really powerful to do meditations within your lucid dream. Becoming lucid, though, isn't that easy. So for most people, it's hard to become lucid, and it's maybe not really worth it to spend all that time on trying to become lucid and then meditate in your sleep. But if you're having an easy time doing it, I would go for it for sure, and not just running around, flying, and having sex or whatever people do in their lucid dreams. But that's fine too, of course. But if you have a spiritual practice, or if you have a spiritual longing, leaning, wanting, you would do well in using that time to practice, actually. And for me, that it has been great to do that, even though it only has happened like a couple of times when I've actually been able to really practice within my lucid dream. But anyway, that's the analogy of waking up inside the dream, waking up to the reality of the fact that it is a dream. In a similar way, the traditions tell us that this reality right now is sort of like a dream, somewhat like a dream, and we can wake up to that reality too. We can make we can make the same realization, but within this consciousness, or this world, this state, this the waking state, shall we say, compared to the dream state at night. They're saying that we're dreaming now, and the dream is, in part, of course, it's just the egoic mind, the narrative self, our self-referential thoughts that are always about, it could be about ourselves, but they are a story, and we get caught up in that story, and we believe in that story. And meditation, again, helps us untangle that, or not maybe untangle, but move away from it. We're just moving our awareness from the third person or the second person, or the narrative self, the stories we're telling ourselves, or the mind is telling us, to something else, to right here, to right now, to I, and staying with I. And in staying with I, what Ramana Maharishi says is that when we wake up in the morning, our I thought, as he calls it, that is sort of the kind of egoic consciousness, jumps up from our, what he calls, heart on the right, which is our spiritual heart, jumps up into our brain, and it kind of takes over our body, and we can feel it even. So right before, when we are going from sleep to waking consciousness, there is a short moment, like half a second or something, where we usually not even aware of it. We can be more aware of it if we are sleeping in taking a nap during the day, maybe. And when we wake up, we aren't really fully aware of, sometimes at least. It happened to me a few times. When we wake up, we aren't fully aware of who we are, or maybe even where we are. That is the time it takes for the egoic consciousness or the I thought, as Ramana Maharishi calls it, to go up into the brain and take over it. So, and when we ask, who am I? Then we take the I thought back into the spiritual heart from whence it came. And like Gandalf threw down the Balrog, we over time may also throw down the egoic consciousness, the I thought, into the spiritual heart on the right. And if we do that over time, usually years, for moments during the day, mostly, or in best case scenario, we do it a dedicated practice every day for at least like 30 or 60 minutes or something like that. And we do it over years, and we practice this, bringing the I thought back, or just doing the practice, however we want to think about it, doing the who am I, what is this I am, until the I thought is contained, or is let loose, or however we want to see it, is evaporated, goes into nirvana, which means cessation. It ends. So the egoic consciousness ends, and the I thought ends, and then there is awakening in this waking state too, and we become lucid in this state. We stop dreaming, we stop believing what the narrative mind is telling us, the narrative thoughts are telling us, and thoughts and emotions and sensations, whatever it is, it becomes sort of like when we become lucid in a dream. It's very similar, I would say, and at least that's my own experience. Waking up is like becoming lucid in a dream, and then we're not we may be looking outside, but we know it's a dream. But to get there, we need to start looking inside first. We need to do what Jung said. We need to do what Ramana Maharishi said, Nisargadatta Maharaj, whoever it is. All these people are saying basically the same thing. The people from the mystical traditions and many contemporary non-dual teachers or whatnot. There are, of course, some people saying you don't need to do anything. Everything is just what it is, and everything is just happening, and everything is spontaneous. That is, of course, true, at least from that perspective. But I don't think it helps anyone very much. And so there's a reason why Zen Buddhism and all the traditions recommends practice, because it doesn't seem to happen by itself. There's a definite correlation between doing spiritual practices like the question, who am I, and the spiritual awakening. So we see if there's a human organism sitting down and doing that for a couple of years, they tend to say, I'm awake now. I woke up. I had this experience, or this thing happened to me, and it wasn't even me. I realized I wasn't what I thought I was, and now I'm here and I'm awake now, just like being lucid in a dream. And many of my fears and fears of death went away, and I feel much better. I'm less reactive. I'm less anxious, and all those things. And that too happens on a continuum, just like in a lucid dream at night, which happens on a continuum. It depends on how deep that realization or awakening is. But it's open. It's open to everyone. It's your birthright, as some people say, and it's just a wonderful thing. For sure, it's great to wake up. It's a great thing, and So again, he who looks outside dreams, he who looks inside awakes. So we want to look inside. We want to look not physically inside. And I mean, even maybe a more pragmatic way of saying this, it is putting your awareness or attention on things in the outside world isn't very helpful. Putting your awareness in the here and now, using a spiritual practice. This doesn't sound nearly as profound as what Jung said, but maybe it's easier to understand. To put attention here, putting your awareness, your attention on this moment through spiritual practices. All of these meditations do basically the same thing. If you're body scanning, you're doing that in the moment here. Your body is always here and now. If you're doing noting thoughts, feelings, sensations, it's also happening in the now. Of course, still, if you're thinking about buying a new car, it's still happening in the now. It's just that your attention is on something that won't help you with the awakening. You need to, because that's just dreaming. You're still dreaming, of course, when you're practicing. But if you practice for a long time, like in a dream at night, if you turn, there's no inside or outside, but as a figure of speech, at least we can say that we put our attention on something else. We put our attention on the here and now. And if we do that continuously over time, we will start piercing the veil, the Maya, the samsara, the matrix, whatever you want to call it. We will start piercing it, and there will be glimpses. At first, that's how it tends to be, and over time, those glimpses will be longer and in duration and stronger, and eventually there may be at least maybe this lifetime or the next, as I say, there may be a shift in consciousness where you, just like in a dream, really shift into lucidity. Lucid in a dream, enlightenment is it's sometimes called. It's something becoming aware. It is like waking up from a dream, almost like Neo waking up in the whatever it is that is like in this these pods that they are sleeping in. We don't wake up anywhere else, but it's almost like waking up from somewhere else. Just again, I like the metaphor with the dream. If you never had that experience of becoming lucid in a dream, it may not make any sense. But imagine you can imagine. It's really weird to walk around and realize that you haven't really been there. Things have just been happening basically, and you haven't really been there. It's just been some, again, like almost like a dream. They don't say that it's, the traditions doesn't say that it is a dream. They just say it as a pointer, like a dream. It's sort of like a dream, dream-like. What it is, no one can really say. That's why they call it the cloud of unknowing in the Christian mystical tradition. And there's different names for emptiness or the absolute or God. Even God can mean many things, of course, but this numinous or the unexplainable, we don't know what it is. It's something that goes beyond words. It's something that definitely goes beyond our own thinking. So we don't really know what it is, but we can intuit it. We can have the experience of waking up from the illusion of the separate self sense and wake up into the truth of unity or reality, or at least no self, as they say in Zen Buddhism. You can make up your own mind about what you believe in, if there's something spiritual about it or not, or if it's just differences in brain activity. Doesn't really matter. It's the same experience, more or less. I imagine it can change to some degree depending on what beliefs you still hold or not, or don't hold. But it's the same, no matter if you're atheist or if you're a believer. For many people who are deep believers, they may even change beliefs after having an awakening or that type. I think Bernadette Roberts, who was a Christian mystic, when she woke up, God disappeared for her. She realized that even God is just a thought, not real. Sorry. It's just an idea. Everything goes away, so there's nothing here. Nothing coming, nothing going, nothing to gain, nothing to experience even. It's just this, like they say, just suchness, isness, different names for it. But even such as thisness, thusness are still just words, names that ultimately doesn't capture it either. But you have to, or at least you can try, and that's the way Meister Eckhart, I think, tried it with the thusness that he liked to speak about. I'm not sure if it was him, maybe having them mixed up. But anyway, again, he who looks outside dreams, he who looks inside awakes. So look inside if you want to experience this thing called awakening, realization, moksha, theosis, nirvana, fanaa, peace that passeth understanding, kensho, satori, whatever you want to call it. Just becoming lucid in the waking state. Maybe it's a different name for enlightenment. Okay, that was it. Thank you very much.